Now that you have unboxed your Swift treadmill, it's time to put it together. We want to make sure that you have 7 feet of clearance from the walls and furniture from the back end, and at least 4 feet of clearance on the front and the sides. If you are placing your treadmill on a slick surface, or you want to make sure that you have a mat on a rug underneath, make sure it measures at least 60 by 36 inches. If you turn to page 10 in your user manual, you're going to see that we are in step 1 right now with the treadmill laying out and your parts and hardware in front of you. We're going to move on to step 2, which is on page 11, which is installing the wheel brackets. As you'll find in your manual, it is helpful if you have another person alongside to assist you with this, but if you don't, I'm going to show you an extra step that's not included in the manual. So the manual demonstrates that you have the treadmill straight up and down with the handlebars facing up. The challenge here is if you're by yourself and you go to install the extra wheel bracket here, is the treadmill has a potential to come down to your head. So if you're by yourself, we're going to go one extra step in the direction near the end. Lay your treadmill down very carefully. We're going to come back down here. You're going to grab your first set of nuts and bolts. You're going to align this up with the holes, as you can see here in the top. Slide that through until you feel it poking down at the bottom. Takes a little bit of wiggle. And then from here, we're going to apply one of our nuts to the other side without tightening it all the way. We want to keep it just a little bit loose so that we have some wiggle room here. We're going to apply the other side, coming through to the bottom. Now from here, you're going to take your multi-tool with the hex end, and we're going to rotate clockwise direction. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. There we go. We're going to do the same on the other side. What you might find handy is reversing the multi-tool so it's furthest away so that you can get a full rotation. There we go. We're going to repeat this on the other side. So now it's time to unfold the treadmill. We're going to come over here to the end, and very carefully we're going to stand it up so that the wheels are down. You're going to need your security knob for this next step, but as we come over here, you're going to see this knob pulls out, and we're going to slowly lower this down until it finds the floor. You're going to take your security knob now, and around here at the bottom, you're going to see 2 holes that line up. And for this, we just rotate away from us, and now your treadmill is locked and secured. So now it's time for step number 4, securing the handrails, located on page 13 of your user guide. You're going to need 2 sets of the socket head screws with the washers, and then you're going to use the hex head of your multi-tool. We're going to tilt the handrail downward, and from here, you're going to take 1 set of the screws, and they're going to go right here on the inside. You're going to find on the opposite side of the handrail of the treadmill, you're going to find the same set of holes on this side and tighten that side as well. So if you turn to page 14 of your user manual, we are starting step 5 of the assembly process, which is to install the display panel. You're going to have your display panel, you're going to need your 3 40mm screws, and then you're going to need the multi-tool to use with the end of the screws. For now, I'm going to place those here in the little cup holder so I don't lose them, because we're going to start by connecting all of the wires with the wires here in the main frame. So what I like to do, what has worked really well for me, is just balancing, making sure that you have all of your wires out of the touch controls here on the handlebars. You're going to just wedge this here on an angle, and it'll balance. And then piece by piece, I like to start with the bigger pieces first. We're going to meet those ends. If you look inside, you're going to see that those little pins are going to fit inside the holes on the opposite. And we're going to start with doing that until you hear it clip into position. We're going to go with the white set next. And again, we're going to clip those in, matching up the holes with each point. until it clips into position. And now we're down to our 3-prong. There's one with 3 prongs. So we're going to find the attachment for the 3 prongs and insert those until they clip in. There we go. And then now we're down to the last little pieces. So we just want to make sure if we have 2 metal pins in one, we want to make sure we choose an end adapter that doesn't have any pins so that they meet up together. We've got 1 set left. And we're going to clip that in. And now we have all of our cords connected so that we can read everything happening from the handlebar panel to the actual display panel. The hard part here is trying to wedge and tuck all of these little parts inside this little rectangle on top. So I want you to very carefully tuck those down until you get to the point where you're close to being able to insert the display into the top. And now we're ready to go with inserting our screws from underneath. So you're going to grab your 3 screws. You're going to have to kneel down on your hands and knees for this one. And if you look up from underneath, really hard to see, but there are going to be several holes across the bottom. There are going to be some that are much bigger, and there are going to be some that are smaller. And you're trying to go to find the bigger holes. We're going to start by inserting the first screw in this middle hole. You're going to notice that there are 2 smaller holes and 2 larger holes. We're going to start with the larger hole in the middle, trying to make sure that your control panel is tilted upward. And then once you get there, you're going to maneuver your multi-tool into the end of the screw while holding the control panel in place. And you're going to rotate the multi-tool until you can feel things are securing. There we go. And we can make that just a little bit tighter, but we don't want to make it so tight that it's locked down. We're going to repeat that for this end hole right here and the other end hole on the end. So we're making sure we're inserting the screws into the large of the 5 holes. There we go. You can feel that getting a little harder to turn, so we know we're right. And then the last one, I'm going to start the screw on the end of my screwdriver here, slide it up in there, and rotate. So this is kind of a blind assembly with the screws, so you just have to go by feel and just making sure that when you get close to the end, you can feel the tension changing on your screwdriver. And then you want to go back through and tighten up each screw to making sure that your control panel doesn't wiggle. And so we are set. Now that you've installed your display panel, it's time to lubricate your running belt before the first time that you use your treadmill. You'll find lubricating your running belt in the operations video. Thank you so much for watching. Now go enjoy that Swift treadmill of yours.